what we're starting to explore are areas where we can enable our existing partner channel to provide more solutions beyond just voice.
Hi, and welcome to Heads Up, an interview series and podcast where technology innovators and experts discuss solutions to today's workflow challenges in distribution, manufacturing, healthcare, maintenance and inspection, and many other industries. From the warehouse floor all the way to the C-suite, Heads Up explores the impact technology and other innovation may play in advancing workflow efficiency. I'm Alex Renneman, CEO of Mountain Leverage, the hands-free, as-free company, and I'll be your host. Joining me today is Ray Bales, General Manager of Honeywell Voice Solutions. Ray, thanks for joining us on Heads Up.
Yep. Thank you, Alex. Glad to be here.
Hey, so Honeywell Voice Solutions, I think when people hear Honeywell, depending on their worldview or experience, they might think jet engines, thermostats, fans, everything in between. So can you give us just some kind of a rundown of what is Honeywell Voice Solutions?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very valid question because, I'm relatively new to Honeywell, and I remember Honeywell from back in the day. My personal experience and connection was that round thermostat on my grandma's wall, right in her house.
Yeah.
So that was Honeywell to me. And really, it's a gigantic company, completely global in nature, Fortune 50. So within Honeywell, there's basically four primary business divisions. And Honeywell Voice, which was the former Vocolect organization, is part of the safety and productivity solutions team. So that's an organization that focuses on product, software, connected solutions for improving productivity, workplace safety, and asset performance. As I boil that down and think about that in kind of real terms, what that is, today we're the people that are doing N95 mask production, for example. They launched production of that in Rhode Island, Arizona recently to combat COVID, for example.
Yeah, everybody knows what those are now. Last year, maybe
everybody knows.
Everybody knows N95 now.
100%. But along the same lines of the safety equipment there, we're also the organization that provides the big gloves for power line workers to work on day-to-day running of power line equipment, or when there's natural disasters and emergencies. In the past, and currently I live in Florida, and as a state frequently hit by hurricanes, power line workers and line workers are always in high demand, especially during this season. And we provide that type of safety equipment along with gas detection equipment and other types of things. On the software front, of course, the Honeywell Voice fits right in there. We've got the voice recognition technologies that enable guided workflow solutions there. So as a team, we're focused on being the leader of guided workflow solutions in Honeywell Voice for industrial, supply chain, and commercial applications that deliver process improvements for business challenges. And if you break that down, the heritage of Vocolect and now Honeywell Voice is really in the distribution center. So that's where we find that connection to the supply chain. But as we think about commercial applications, that's where we're expanding into retail. Like right now, Alex, you and I have talked about the fact that click and collect for retail is really important, as a lot of stores have moved to the need to deliver orders at the curbside. So super important application there right now. And the same thing for industrial. I know Mountain Leverage is very forward in rolling out maintenance and inspection solutions, which are, again, another piece of the portfolio for Honeywell Voice.
Yeah, for sure. So you've been there since June. You're in this new role. What have your first few months, been like, and in this whole new experience of being GM of Honeywell Voice Solutions?
Yeah, it's been fast-paced. It's been pretty exciting. Our solutions are used primarily in distribution for grocery items, medical supplies, safety gear, you name it, a lot of basic necessities that people need to get through the current pandemic. And so the way the organization kind of naturally responded to support our partners and those end customers that are distributing those items to areas of very critical need, to see that in action has been just fascinating, and to be able to support them and knock down barriers for that. So it's been it's been very interesting. It's been unlike any other job that I've started in for sure. But it's come with a wealth of satisfaction and to see a team perform like that, knowing the important work that they're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Talk about the middle of COVID. I mean, you talk about hopping on a train while it's moving. Yeah, it's crazy. So, looking at the business model and voice solutions, and I know a large part of your business, maybe upwards of 80-85% are actually transacted through channel partners, but you have end users as well. Can you help us understand what should end users and partners, channel partners, expect over the next few quarters to see from your group?
Yeah, I think that's really top of mind right now, especially as a lot of public companies like Honeywell are going through strategic planning that happened in May and June, and now business planning for the following fiscal year. So right now, a really top of mind and key theme for me is being frictionless, as much for our partners as well as our end customers. And that's really top of mind in the retail space today. So a lot of companies are thinking about how do we move to a frictionless experience for the end customer that wants to go into a convenience store and just grab an item and go quickly. And so there's a lot of technologies that enable that. We hear about that from a lot of different companies. And internally, it's important for me that we become as well frictionless. And another way that we say it in business vernacular and being easy to do business with, but I think we take it to the next level when we use our end customers' vocabulary, because that means we're understanding their challenge and we're driving to the same. So when we become frictionless like that, we are easy to do business with, and we can then support their business processes end to end. And so that's really top of mind when I'm thinking about and talking to our team about how we engage with partners and end customers. The other thing, of course, is keeping everybody safe and supporting business. We're going into year end, the traditional retail peak. I want to make sure that our team that's doing technical support, be it tier 3 phone calls and VPNing into servers to support, software applications, or implementation teams that are going to site, to do installations, or even our teams that are training on our new platform, Guided Work, that everybody's being safe, continue to support the end business there. So that's all top of mind as we go into this quarter and the beginning of next year.
Yeah, for any leader right now, safety shot to the top if it wasn't already there. I love the way you state that. Frictionless is such a great phrase, I think, for this community. Looking a little bit further ahead, I mean, what do you see as your biggest goal that you're trying to tackle, or maybe some of your biggest challenges even along the way to that goal over the next 12 months or so?
Good question. So we're going through this business planning right now. And for me, coming in new to the organization, it's been a process of understanding, what is Honeywell Voice, where is it that we deliver value and support end customers and partners, and how can we do that more? And really, I'm lucky to have one of the founders of the business that still works with us on the leadership team today, that's kind of educating me on this is what Vocalec did that was so successful back in the day. And for me, it's turning that recipe of what was so successful back then, figuring out how to make it applicable in today's industry and environment. That's really top of mind, and that's the biggest goal that I have, because we're in a very changed environment. Technology is completely changed. Voice recognition is quite common. We all have it on our phones, for example. But what we do in terms of delivering value and those guided work applications, that industry expertise, still is not diminished. And so getting back to our roots of innovation is the biggest thing that I want to achieve in the next 12 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. So looking even further out, where do you see the voice landscape going? Over the next couple of years, even for that matter, what trends might you see in this environment?
Good question. I think I see obviously technologies that we're rolling out, like speech independent voice recognition, so we call it pick up and go, is really important right now. That we don't necessarily have to train on voice templates anymore. Anybody can use the equipment from minute one and get rolling on it. So that's really key. The other key is integration with other technologies. I've seen a lot of different technologies out there in the market that offer solutions for guided work, for helping workers be more productive and efficient and directed in what they're doing. But they're all kind of in their own little environment, and not fully integrated across the spectrum. And so I think those are the key themes that I see being really important.
Yeah, it makes sense. So one of the things we talked about, you just can't miss it. It's almost like Easter grass. It's everywhere you look once it's out, and that's COVID, right? COVID has kind of covered everything. So with that, and you talked about some of the differences in your end users. Some folks had real spikes of trying to get toilet paper and personal athletic equipment, all those things kind of out the door. Other people suffered, and still there's still some of that disparities across the board. But it's changed everybody's business model, and seeing that frenetic labor market. How do you see voice and maybe other forms of automation, whether it's robotics or glass or AR or whatever it may be, augmented reality? How do you see that work? How do you see voice working in conjunction or on both near and the far term? Just kind of asking for you that crystal ball of, all right, the world has changed. It's never going to be the same. And COVID's a big piece of that. How do you see this all playing together?
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about that and weigh in in that area. And, to me, I go back to the experience that I've seen in my lifetime, that maybe like you, I remember a lot of different retail stores and a lot of different kind of mom and pop shops existed. I grew up in a small town in central Illinois, right? And we had a lot of different retail stores and outlets that don't exist today. They kind of all got conglomerated together into larger organizations. But as well, technology, especially e-com, has allowed smaller businesses to flourish at the same time too. So I know we focus on the big companies out there that are dominant in that space, but what they do and the platforms they deliver also allow a lot of smaller companies to be really successful. So it's interesting to see how that cycle has kind of come around in the span of 30, 40 years. Interestingly enough, we focus a lot on e-commerce and a ton on e-commerce in our day-to-day thoughts about how big it's become. But until as recently as 2018, it only represented 10% of all retail sales. I mean, that's straight out of the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics records, right? And so 90% was still done in a traditional type of fashion, brick and mortar, et cetera. Now with COVID, that has jumped. It's projected in Q2 of this year to over 16%. So 6% move. Again, not by any means what anybody would suspect as like a huge overhaul. And it's projected to be about 20% into next year. But that said, those tiny shifts in numbers of percentages represent huge shifts for the retail supply chain and represent huge shifts for distribution and the warehouse environment. And so because of that, I think the key theme for voice and other technologies is being able to respond quickly to those shifts, and using current assets and technology in place, but maybe adding software to enable some extra productivity. An example is, Alex, I know you guys are at the forefront of rolling this out with the guided work platform that can run on Android devices. It's really device agnostic. This is a software platform that partners like you can develop guided work applications and roll those out to end customers to enable those workflow solutions on existing assets. You don't have a huge capital expenditure up front. And with the pace of change that's been dictated because of the COVID situation, I think that's really important that you can enable that quickly and efficiently in a manner that wasn't really possible when you look at older platforms that relied on just dedicated technology.
Yeah, it's a great point. You know, a 1% change in the market can be massive, and but there's certain tipping points, and 6%, you know, with that automatically, I don't know how companies can keep up without automating, and the ripple effect, the echo effect through the supply chain is intense. And I know those folks that are in there aren't, we aren't telling them anything they don't know. I mean, they're feeling it, but ultimately, that 6% also isn't laid out equally, right? Some folks are getting hammered more than others. And without that automation piece, I completely agree with you. And being able to leverage some of your existing systems and be able to automate within on either whether it's your existing hardware or whatever it might be is really important, because, you know, a lot of folks aren't going to have the time to go through an 18-month, 2-year development cycle and implementation cycle. They got to get it now. So that's really important.
Yeah. Yep.
So one of the things we mentioned earlier about your reseller channel. What are some things that are the plans that you have for that reseller channel to make, you know, maybe a more successful and thriving channel? I mean, if that's going to be the lion's share of your business, what's going to be happening there that you can share with us?
Yeah, good question. You know, so the easiest answer is, of course, again, that idea of being frictionless and being easier to do business with. But beyond that, what we're starting to explore are areas where we can enable our existing partner channel to provide more solutions beyond just voice out of the Honeywell portfolio. I kind of mentioned earlier, you know, I'm newer to Honeywell. It's a big company. It's global, over 100,000 employees worldwide, operations in every country and on every continent. Literally a massive organization with tons of different solutions in it. And I want to be able to enable our partner community to take advantage of some of those solutions to be able to help end customers. You know, a recent example that comes to mind is Honeywell is very big in the building technologies area, where they have automation, security, control systems, fire systems, for example, to enable building automation. And we've got a partner that's working out a solution to be able to combine those systems along with the maintenance and inspection application to be able to offer a total package to an end customer of here's how you can automate, control, and maintain secure your building, and also maintain those systems with the Honeywell voice maintenance and inspection application. And so I'm looking for different areas of the business where we can bring in those solutions from the broader Honeywell portfolio to enable our partners to help end customers more.
That's great. That makes sense. I mean, leverage the strengths, right? You got. There's a broad offering based at Honeywell, no doubt. Hey,
Yeah.
One of the things we just touched on a minute ago about existing hardware, you know, devices or whatever they may be. How is Honeywell currently, or how do you plan to respond to what maybe the kind of the constant demand for cheaper hardware, or that whole conversation around a purpose-built device versus a multimodal device or multi-use device, if you will?
Yeah, it's really top of mind. I'm actually I'm down in South America right now, you know, as we were kind of chatting, and here the country has been severely impacted by the currency exchange rate, and so what once used to cost 3 of the local currency to $1 now costs 5 because of the devaluation of the local currency. So that means our solutions imported are so much more expensive just because of a fluctuation in exchange rate. Like the device is the same, right? Nothing else changed other than FX rate. And beyond that, you know, in the device world, there's constant, you know, movement and change and shifts towards cheaper and lower cost technologies there. But I think I look back to the core of what's always made us successful, and that's focusing on solutions that serve the customer's business challenges with a great ROI and a compelling competitive advantage. And so the consultative approach that our partners take with our support to be able to go in to a customer site, understand their process flows, provide recommendations on where they can be more efficient, and then get a return on any investment based upon changes to that for those process flows, I think is fundamental. And we're going to continue our focus there. Of course, then with that ROI, that involves the initial upfront cost of the hardware and solution and long-term support. And then we've got to make sure that ROI, which is important in the customer's terms and in the customer's terms, right, because an ROI is different in a developing country where things change so quickly that you need a quicker one versus a developed country where you could take a little bit more time. It's so important to think about that in the customer's terms, but then also to have a compelling competitive advantage. So we're really keyed into all those areas, and devices will come and go. We'll make sure that we are delivering that great ROI and that compelling competitive advantage, regardless of the device. The great thing is now with the Honeywell Voice platform that we offer, the guided work platform, as well as our legacy platforms. So we can work on dedicated devices that have the robustness and ease of use that our customers and partners have known for so many years under the Vocalec brand. Or we can work on multimodal devices, be it the Honeywell brand or other brands that offer a little more flexibility. And so we've got kind of the best of both worlds to offer there. But always, again, thinking about and being really driven by solving a business challenge for a customer with a great ROI and a great compelling competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. We talk all the time with our customers and prospects. It's all about outcomes. What outcome are we trying to achieve? We'll figure out the stuff, if you will, to achieve it. Let's get the outcome. That's what's important. I completely agree with you. Hey, to kind of shift gears on you a little bit here. I really appreciate you coming on. What's just to kind of dig into who Ray is for just a minute. What's some influence, whether it's a book or a podcast or any kind of other knowledge that you found that's been extremely valuable for your success? And it may be something you've just recently consumed, or maybe it's something years ago that kind of put you on the right track. What's something you could share with us?
In terms of the books, I think Crossing the Chasm has been, the piece of literature that's really most applicable to the current role I'm in. But I will say I'm an avid reader of news, and especially of business news, like The Economist, for kind of global understanding of what's going on around the world, or Bloomberg in terms of what's going on in the markets. I often joke with my team, like when we go into that part of a meeting where everybody is generally like checking their phone, maybe a lot of people are on Instagram. I'm normally on Bloomberg checking the financial news and seeing what the exchange rates are on the markets doing. So that's kind of where I keep my head at a little bit.
Yeah, nice. I have found The Economist has been, noise can get pretty, especially in election year, can get really crazy. And for a while I was listening to kind of both sides, finding, far left, far right, and trying to listen to that. And I've kind of been there. Well, and Crossing the Chasm is a great book. It's a great read, great concepts in that. I'd like to end on this and to humanize it a little bit. We've talked about markets and things, but COVID is here. It's come our way. And it's created all kinds of wreckage in its way, whether economically or physically, emotionally, all the things that come with that. But I always try to find gratitude in anything we're doing, and I am grateful for you coming on to this podcast and talking with us. I'm grateful for what you're doing in the market and helping folks out there. Grateful for Honeywell having the M95s ready to rock and the ramping up production and all the things that are out there. But I would ask you, what's something for which you're grateful?
For me personally, I go back to my family. I've been very fortunate in my life to be supported by family through the entire time. Grew up very humble background in Central Illinois on a farm, and have had great experiences and support to be able to move around the world, live in 5 countries, speak 3 languages, help customers and people with energy, raw material, distribution, supply, medical needs, etc. And so that's all been I'm extremely thankful for all those things. And so, I'm also really, really happy to work and to have come on to a great set of people and team with the Honeywell Voice organization. We've been through a lot of change, and there's a large organization that supports end customers and partners like you, Alex. And I wake up every day wanting to make sure that they're safe, that they're engaged, and they know how important the work that they're doing is to support everybody around the world. And so I find myself very lucky to have been in this situation. So.
That's great. If you really take time to look around, there's a whole lot to be grateful for. I don't care what situation anybody's in. There's always something to have some gratitude. Well, Ray, again, I'm thankful you came on this podcast and on the interview series with us here. I'm thankful for what you're doing in your new role and the team you have with you, and we wish you the best of luck.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Alex. I really
Thanks.
appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Take care.
Bye.